SwoleBenji here. Are you ready for Mutated Dungeons? I'm going to teach you the speedrunning community's meta for dungeons, which will translate very nicely to you and your friends so that you can do Mutated Dungeons in the most efficient, most powerful, and fastest way possible. So you can get those Umbral Shards, you can rank up in the Mutated Dungeons, and you can get more stuff done throughout your day. So I'm going to be covering healing, tanking, and damage dealing all in this one video. It's very simple. This is not a complicated game. Let's get right into it. Alright, let's start with damage dealing first because it is the most played variant of the triad, right? So, for damage dealing, if you go look up the speedruns, the fastest possible Lazarus and Genesis clears, you will see that it's all Warhammers and Great Axes. And I've covered why in previous videos, but I'm going to cover it again here, okay? So, let me just tell you real quick, for your axe, you're going to want something called Trenchant Recovery, okay? The reason you want this is that you basically act as your own healer, alright? And I'm going to explain how this compounds later on. But for the hammer, you don't actually have to have Trenchant Recovery, though it does help. You could use Trenchant Rend, but you won't need it. You're going to be stacking Rend anyway using the hammer's abilities and passives on your armor, but it's just nice to have just in case you want to have it. But Trenchant Recovery will make things a lot smoother in Mutated Dungeons. It's currently not needed in regular dungeons, alright? Now for the Great Axe, this is generally what the speedrunners use, okay? Town Project. Okay, so Maelstrom is absolutely mandatory. This is a very high DPS skill. It will suck everyone into one little area. And of course, Gravity Well, when combined with the passive Insatiable Gravity Well, is an insane damage dealer. This also gives you protection. But other than that, with the Great Axe, you will just be spamming charged heavy attacks. This activates your Trenchant Rend, and this also gives you damage reduction combined with all your other skills. You'll be dealing tons of damage and healing tons of HP. Go check out my other videos where I solo level 66 Corrupted Portals with this build, okay? For the Warhammer, you'll be using Armor Breaker on tough boss targets. You'll be using Wrecking Ball and Shockwave to weaken the enemies, rend the enemies, and crowd control the enemies while they're getting sucked in and whirlwinded by Maelstrom. And it just kills trash mobs incredibly fast. And this is what you will be using for Warhammer. Everyone will be crowd controlling the mobs the entire time. You don't have to do Plagued Strikes, because the enemies will be crowd controlled the entire time, being sucked around and being basically deleted by 3 axe and hammer users. There's no point for Plague Strikes. Even in Mutator 10, you don't need them currently in the test realm. Now, I don't have the correct stats for your DPS shown on screen, but basically, you're going to pump at least 100 into Constitution and the rest into Strength, and the reason why you do this is so that you have 300 strength, so that all of your melee attacks have grit, which means you are uninterruptible. Being interrupted during your swings is a huge DPS loss, and anything over 100 Constitution will give you over 10,000 HP, which will make you nigh unkillable in these dungeons. Even Mutator level 10 dungeons do not one-shot you with 10,000 HP. The only mob in the entire game that can one-shot you, as in dealing over 10,000 HP, is a Scylla stacked up to 13 times in Mutator 7 and above. And that is the only thing that can one-shot you, but if you have a good competent group and you can get to Mutator at least 2 or 3, then you know how Scylla works, and she should never be stacked up that high anyway. Now, as far as armor goes, you may think, oh, light armor, you can deal more DPS and speedrun it faster. No, that is not the case. You want heavy armor. Heavy armor is going to make you very tanky and very durable. It's all about sustained DPS in these dungeons. Now, let me show you the mods that you want. Obviously, you want strength. That way you can reach 300 strength. You don't have to have all strength on all your equipment, but it is easy to switch them in and out for different dungeons. You don't have to respec and pay 200 gold every time. But for, say, doing Dynasty Shipyard, you're going to want Corrupted Ward, okay? And if you're doing something like Lazarus, you want Ancient Ward, because those are ancient monsters, except for the last boss, which is counted as a neutral entity for some reason. And if you're doing Genesis, you're going to want Angry Earth Ward, okay? You want this on every single piece of your armor, and for the gym, you want an Onyx. You also want Onyxes in your jewelry so that you have extreme damage reduction. This is what allows you to solo things. If you have, like if they ever introduce a dungeon with lost mobs, which are like the ghost pirates, the ghosts, you know, the little zombie critter dudes, then you're going to want Lost Ward, okay? And if you have a full set of Lost Ward, you can actually go solo the whole Siren area and loot those elite chests, just for your information. That's a video coming soon. That'll be a fun one. All right. So that's it for armor. Of course, for amulets, jewelry, all that stuff, you want keen awareness, leeching, regeneration, the usual stuff, okay? It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. Now, for tanks, it's basically the exact same spec as your DPS, except one thing, okay? Or a few things, actually. Now, for tanking, you're still going to use a Great Axe and a Warhammer. There is one fight in the game you need to switch to Sword and Shield for. Unless you're on Mutator 10 on Dynasty Shipyard, then you'll need Sword and Shield for Isabella. But other than that, you just have a Sword and Shield. Just have Keen, Refreshing Move. This allows you to get your cooldowns back faster as the tank. You obviously want a Carnelian Gem in the weapon. Alright, and then for your offhand, you'll want a Hatchet, also with the Carnelian Gem, and that is just an AoE taunt. And in case you're about to die, you switch to your Hatchet, you'll have a couple seconds of immunity, so you can drink a potion and switch back to your Sword and Shield after you get your stamina back. It's pretty simple stuff. Nothing crazy about this. It's very obvious. Other than that, you're going to be 300 Strength, 100 Constitution. And if you have perfect gear, you can have up to 150 Constitution, which really helps. But as a tank, you don't need to go all Constitution, okay? Trash mobs, you just smash them down. It's basically you have 4 DPS and a healer all the way up until certain bosses, and that's it. Tanking is very simple. Also, the spec for tanking is not what you would think. You would think you would go to the Defender and get all this additional armor and reduce stamina damage and all this fun stuff and more healing and regeneration, but you don't really need it, okay? Even on Mutator 10 in Lazarus and in Genesis, it's better to just get leadership here. That's 10% damage increase to all your party members. Alright, they're going to be self-healing, they're going to be doing tons of damage, you're going to be absolutely fine just using a DPS spec. You don't have to use Leaping Strike or Shield Bash or anything, but other than that, until they release harder dungeons or harder mobs that deal more stamina damage, you absolutely don't even really need to spec tank, let's be honest. Alright, now let's talk about healers, because there is a huge debate about healers. Should they be in light armor? Should they be in heavy armor? What is the consensus of this? What is the, what should we do, SwoleBenji? And let me answer this right now. Your healer should be in heavy armor, and let me explain why. I know, let me show you. This is called nw-tools.info healing calculator, okay? This is a extremely fully accurate healing calculator. You can type in your focus, your level, your equipment load, your gear score on your weapon, your tier of diamond, and the buffs that you have running at the time, and it will exactly match these numbers every single time, no matter what, okay? So let me show you right now. Your healer, if your healer has perfect gear and at least 100 Constitution, so you don't get one shot in Mutator 10 dungeons, okay, you're going to be running 400 focus. Otherwise, if you're just glass cannon healing, you're 495 focus, right? So look at these numbers right quick, okay? See the numbers on the right? Now, before we get into heavy versus light, I just want to talk about the Sacred Ring. I have seen Sacred Rings priced on the market for insane values, but look if we just don't use Sacred Ring, okay? Look at the healing, and then here it is without it. Here it is with, and here it is without, okay? So like Light's Embrace, that's a big one. Divine Embrace, those are your single target heals. Then you have, of course, Sacred Ground. Everyone runs Sacred Ground. It's barely anything, okay? It's insignificant, okay? It's like, what, 120 HP on Light's Embrace? Splash of Light is, what, maybe 90? You got 100 and, like, maybe 70 on Divine. Your Light Attack gets 20. It's awful. This thing, do not pay hundreds of thousands of gold for 20 additional healing, guys. Just don't bother. But for the sake of the argument of heavy versus light, we're going to keep that up, okay? So here it is. With heavy armor, you are taking 50% or less damage from these mobs, okay? Heavy armor is what's going to keep you alive. But with light armor, look how much more do you heal? It's almost nothing, okay? Look, light attack, 770 on light, 689 on heavy, okay? Wow, you heal maybe like 100 more? Divine Embrace, that's the big heal, right? 5165, you heal like 600 more, 600 HP. Every single member of your party is going to have over 10,000 HP, which means healing for 600, you'd have to heal them 15 times to make up for having more damage reduction, okay? And also, most of your party members should be topped off because not only are they all great axes and hammer users, okay, they're not going to be really taking damage on trash mobs, even in Mutator 10, because the trash mobs will always be stunned, always be crowd controlled, and they're just going to be deleted by just cleave AoE. And your beefy, tanky boys using melee are going to be self-healing with heavy swings, right? And of course, their gravity will be healing them and so on. And they will be standing in sacred ground. They will be standing in beacon. And depending on how you make your build, they might be standing in orb of protection as well. While you spam light attacks, they're going to be completely fine. But here it is again. Here's light. Check out Light's Embrace 5,888, right? And with heavy, 5,480. So it's like 400 more healing. It's not worth going light armor. Light armor makes you one-shottable. Okay, heavy armor does not. Alright, so that settles that argument for light versus heavy. Your healer should always be going heavy, but what gear should they use? Now, obviously, your healer should always be using a diamond in the socket, but they should have almost all focus, at least 100 into Constitution, right? Now, your perks, you want Refreshing Move and Blessed, because you should be spamming left click or even some heavies to charge up your passive. But Blessed is absolutely mandatory. Blessed is a huge amount to healing. Just go on that website and fiddle around with it. And if you turn Blessed off on your weapon, it is a huge healing loss. So you don't want that. Like, a 525 life staff with Blessed is better than a 590 life staff without it, okay? It's that big of a difference. And Refreshing Move, what Refreshing Move will allow you to do with a full armor set of Refreshing will allow you to have 2 Sacred Grounds, 2 Beacons, and endless freaking, what is it, Orb of Protection spam if you do that. If you use Divine or Light's Embrace, you will be able to cast that you'll be able to chain cast it. You won't need to chain cast it with the right group, but if you have some newbies in your group or you just want to be really good in Outpost Rush, this is not for Outpost Rush, by the way, at all. This is for Mutated Dungeons. Then maybe if they release a new super dungeon one day where the mobs are like hitting your tank for like 20,000 or something, and you absolutely need a tank with 20,000 HP for some reason, right? Then you'll be ready for it. But for weapons, you just need Blessed and Refreshing Move. That's it, okay? Now, speaking of armors, okay, you're going to want Refreshing on your armor with Focus, of course. Heavy armor. And you want one piece to have Fortifying Sacred Ground, okay? So this gives everyone damage reduction when they receive healing. If they are full HP, they will not receive the Sacred Ground buff. So don't cast it on yourself in town while you're full HP and think it isn't working, because it only works if you receive healing. It also works for yourself. Other than that, you don't really need the other passives. They're okay to have. They're not necessary. But for healers, get full heavy armor, get Refreshing with plus Focus, and try to fill out your the abilities that you have. It's the gear is cheap. You don't have to have 600 gear score to do Mutator 10. Anything like 520, 530 works. And if you can, as a healer, try to have a set for lost mobs, for corrupted mobs, ancient earth, and so on and so forth. If you can, it's not mandatory. You want to prioritize Refreshing. By having a full set of Refreshing, even on your amulet, your ring, and your earring, you will be able to have 2 Sacred Grounds down, you'll be able to have 2 Beacons down, and that basically doubles your healing potential, theoretically, okay? Having 2 Sacred Grounds down is insanely powerful. Alright, it's just crazy. You will never not have a Sacred Ground down with Refreshing. You'll always have 1 to 2 beacons up at a time. And, of course, for your offhand, just use a Void Gauntlet for mana. If you want to chug mana potions, you can. If you want crowd control, like, if you get aggro. Okay, if you get aggro, you could switch to a hammer and stun a mob. Now, let me talk about just one bug. This is a current bug in the game, alright? The bug is Sacred Protection. You see this here? While holding a life staff, it increases the amount of incoming healing to all friendlies by 5%. That sounds kind of good, right? Now here's the problem with it and why you should not currently ever pick this perk. This perk generates aggro. So what this means is that if you're at Scylla on Mutator 10 and you're waiting for her to wake up and attack the tank who is right next to her, hitting her, the entire time of her speech, this is building up aggro. The entire time that a mob begins combat, this is building up aggro. If your healer has this and you enter a room full of skeletons, like in Lazarus, and someone isn't already attacking them, they will automatically attack the healer first. So what this skill does is, this is an AoE aggro taunts. It's so stupid, okay? There are some tanks in the game that will actually enter a room with this staff, so that when they initiate combat, they're already generating threat. It's really stupid. It's incredibly dumb. It's bugged. Don't use this. Don't bother with it. Other than that, you can pretty much play however you want. I like Beacon. I like Orb of Protection. I think that giving everyone Fortify and heals over time is way more useful. And Sacred Ground, of course. Sacred Ground is mandatory. Other than that, you could play around with Divine Embrace, but for me, groups don't drop below 50% HP, and what that does, it turns it into kind of a chain heal, sort of, but it's kind of buggy, it doesn't always work. Most people use Light's Embrace because this heals for more when people are buffed up, and it also gives stamina with one of the perks or whatever, right? It's good all around to have. I don't personally like it, so I don't do it. I've never wiped when I play healer in a dungeon ever, okay? So that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave some comments, let me know what you want to see next in New World, okay? Are you excited for Mutated Dungeons? Not really. I don't think they're all that great. I think they're too easy. You don't really have to worry about, like, the void damage modifiers because you just chug void protection potions. That's all we did in the test realm, is when we went to Mutator 10, and in Mutator 10 right now on the test realm, when you kill a mob, they drop a big, like, purple pool on the ground, and it starts doing damage over time to you, right? So what we did, we just chug a void protection potion whenever we're AoEing down mobs, and then we take no damage. Okay, it's really simple, it's easy, and those things cost, like, almost nothing anyway. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. I make a vid every day, so I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Alright, now that everyone's gone and the loyal people are still here, I'm going to show you how to shop for this gear extremely easy. You open the perks menu, and let's say you want a Lazarus set for both tanking and DPS. So what you're going to do is you're going to click Ancient Ward, and then Soldier Armor Attributes. And then you're going to go here to Apparel, and you're going to go to Head Armor, and then click Heavy Armor, because you only want Heavy Armor. So there is none here. You would then delete Soldier Armor, and then you would select Barbarian Armor Attributes. This is Strength and Constitution. And you can see there's one here for 10,000. It has pretty crappy mods, so I wouldn't pay 10,000 for that. So you're going to change it back to Soldier. Sorry, brain fart there. I've been up all night. Where are we at? Soldier Armor Attributes. And then you're going to go back, and then back again, and then go to Chest Armor, and then Heavy Armor, and then you're just going to... This one's for 20k. It's got stupid mods on it. Ew. So we're going to delete that, go back to, not Battle Mage. No, we want Barbarian. There we go. And there is none, so now we're going to go back to Chest Armor once again, go to Foot Armor, and we can see here, no heavy foot armors, but maybe there is some for Soldier. And let's see, Soldier, there it is. There we go, and no foot armor at all. Go down to Leg Armor, Heavy Armor, of course, and still none. And then you would rinse and repeat for every ward type. So, hold on. So, Ancient Ward doesn't look like there's much there, so I could change this to Corrupted Ward if I was, say, doing Mutator Dungeons in the Dynasty Shipyard. So, you don't need Resistance, by the way. Resistance is a complete wasted mod. Don't bother with it. It's not any good. You have consumables that get rid of that. It's... ew, that's gross. So, Heavy Armor, not good on that one. Let's go for Chest Armor for Corrupted Ward. Also gross. There's really not a lot going on. There's this one for 2,000. It's workable, I guess. What else we got? Leg Armor. Did we check Leg Armor already? I forget. Here's one for 120 with 20 strength. Very low gear score. I wouldn't buy that. But you get the point, guys. I appreciate those that watched the whole video. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, now, I know I said bye twice, but here's the third little info doohickey, right? So, to organize all this, just write down all your gear pieces in a little text format here. So here we can see my Strength Corrupted Resistance Tank set. I listed all the names of the gear, and then here's one for my Ancient set, and then what I'm missing, okay, because it's a work in progress, and then my Angry Earth set, and what I'm missing, and so on and so forth. So let's say I'm doing Angry Earth, which is, not Lazarus, it's the other one, Genesis. So I need my boots, so I'm going to go Profane Boots of the Soldier. So I'm just going to type Profane, because you can only type one word in your storage shed, right? So Profane, and then we know it's boots, There it is. Profane Boots of the Soldier, plus 24 strength. It's got refreshing charge, which I don't use charge, and Angry Earth Ward. And there we go. You just look at your little list there, and you see all the little armor pieces that you have. So after the boots, I would go Profane Breastplate of the Soldier and Defiled Helm of the Soldier, so on and so forth, until I get my gear, slap it on, and I'm ready to do the dungeon, okay? Anyway, I'll see you later. I'm sorry to keep you waiting.